Tonight, a change in the weather
We're getting back to normalcy.
brings a change in COVID-19 guidelines.
I think we're going to see a pulling back of the mandates.
This ahead of President Biden's first primetime joint address to Congress Wednesday. And
We only saw a snippet.
days after the police shooting death of Andrew Brown Jr., the family of the father of 7 is shown only 20 seconds of body camera footage. Plus, a warning.
America is under siege.
Former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker blasts back against what he calls cancel culture. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Countdown to President Biden's first joint session of Congress. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
Good evening. I'm John Jessup. The president is putting the finishing touches on his first speech, now just one day away as he prepares to address lawmakers and the American public.
This as he draws closer to that critical 100-day measuring stick. CBN News White House correspondent Eric Phillips has more in tonight's top story. Hi, Eric.
Jenna and John, that 100-day mark hits on Friday, 2 days after the president is set to address Congress jointly. Now, he will give the American people an idea of the administration's accomplishments so far, but he's also expected to give more details on the second part of his infrastructure plan. Front and center, President Biden is expected to take a victory lap for progress made in the pandemic, for doubling his original goal of 100 million shots in arms in his first 100 days.
So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
From the day Biden was inaugurated, he promised to take on the pandemic and the economy, the two biggest monsters he said he'd need to slay. His first big victory came 2 months in office when he signed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, sending payments of up to $1,400 directly to Americans.
This is an American achievement, a powerful demonstration of unity and resolve.
Next, the president aims to address the economy through 2 more plans, the White House calling them 2 parts of an overall infrastructure plan. Weeks ago, Biden gave details on the first part, the $2.7 trillion American Jobs Plan.
It's not a plan that tinkers around the edges. It's a once-in-a-generation investment in America.
It is a massive expansion of the government, financed on the backs of the American taxpayers with taxes that will hurt the economy and cost us jobs.
The president set Wednesday night to give details on the second part of the infrastructure plan, dubbed the American Family Plan, which is sure to meet opposition. He will also have to address administration setbacks like the crisis at the southern border, where migrants, particularly unaccompanied minors, are overwhelming facilities there, sparked by the reversal of some Trump immigration policies. Also, an uptick in mass shootings across the country has left the West Wing scrambling to uphold pledges of gun control and to address what it calls systemic racism that disproportionately affects Black and brown people and how they're policed. Then there's the issue of bipartisanship, one that Biden hit hard on the stump and in his inaugural speech, pledging to reach across the aisle.
President Biden's inaugural speech rings hollow. Instead of trying to bring us together, he's on the phone making sure a couple of Democrats will not work with the Republicans.
I'm usually a hard grader, but I give Biden an A, a full A. It is important and significant that President Biden has been able to get support among independents and even a sliver of Republicans, because it's a big country, it's a controversial country, and we all have to live together.
And according to the latest polls, Biden's approval rating hovers at about 52%. Now, some had urged the president to postpone his address because the House is in recess this week and he won't likely get the audience that he otherwise would. But that did not happen. John and Jenna.
All right, Eric Phillips, thank you very much. And joining us now is Congressman Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California. Congressman, it's great to have you with us this evening. Just about 24 hours from the president's first joint address to Congress. What are you hoping to hear from the president?
Jenna, I hope to hear a message about investing in America, about rebuilding our country, our roads, our bridges, our airports, getting internet into rural communities. This is an agenda that I think people across the aisle can come around and support.
Congressman Khanna, President Biden's speech comes on the eve, as you know, of his 100th day in office. He's gotten some criticism for addressing Congress later than some of his predecessors. I wonder what your thoughts are. Is that warranted? Should he have given his address earlier?
I don't think so. He's obviously been busy. He's had a pandemic crisis and a crisis of getting vaccines out. He's had an economic crisis. So I think it's appropriate at the 100-day mark, he can come to Congress and report on what he's been able to achieve in vaccine distribution and in economic recovery.
Yeah. President Biden, switching gears here, Congressman, has announced an end to America's longest war on September 11th. U.S. troops already pulling out of Afghanistan. Do you have any concerns yourself that that may leave a power vacuum in the region?
I support the president's decision. As you know, this is something President Trump also wanted. We've been in Afghanistan for 20 years. Our troops did the job. We went in to capture Osama bin Laden. We did that. We went in to destroy al-Qaeda. We did that. It's now time for them to come home. And the Taliban should be under no illusion. If they harbor terrorists again, the United States will go in again, and we would destroy them if we had to, if they are a threat to our homeland. But we are not going to have a permanent presence in Afghanistan. That's not the American way of doing business.
Congressman, in the primary and the run-up to the 2020 election, conservatives and progressives were perhaps united in their skepticism of Biden for different reasons, probably a last choice for the party's left flank. As a progressive, Congressman Khanna, how do you rate Biden's performance, and what does that suggest about his appeals to unify the country in bipartisanship?
I think he's off to a strong start. I'll tell you what has worked in his favor. I think he has a decency. I think he has an all-American story and spirit. He's been through loss, through personal loss and tragedy, and I think that's given him an empathy. And so even Republicans who disagree with his policy, or progressives who disagreed with his policy, find him a likable person, an empathetic person. That goes a long way. One of my colleagues said it best, and that is President Biden is a much better president than he was a candidate, and I think there are a number of people who feel that way, at least in our party.
For you, someone like you do reach across the aisle and you work with people in the other party. But do you wish we would see more of that from President Biden in terms of some of these big issues he's hoping to pass and sell to the American people?
I do hope we can all have more bipartisanship. I mean, I'm very proud of working, for example, with Senator Young and Representative Gallagher, Senator Schumer on Endless Frontiers, making sure we have a technology lead over China. And if there are other areas like that that we can do more work on, then I'm all for it. I do believe the president genuinely wants to do that, and we have to make an effort because that's what the country expects.
All right, Congressman Ro Khanna of California, we always love having you on the show. Thank you so much.
It's always my honor. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.
Well, for complete coverage of President Biden's address to Congress tomorrow night, be sure to tune in live to CBN News across all of our platforms, the CBN News channel, the CBN News app, and on YouTube beginning at 8:45 Eastern.
All right, looking forward to that. Well, no mask, no problem. That is if you are outdoors and have been fully vaccinated. The new guidelines coming today from the CDC stating that masks are no longer needed outdoors unless you're in a large crowd or at a big event like a concert.
Welcome news for many, I'm sure. Still, the president weighed in with his own White House remarks after the CDC's revamped restrictions, telling Americans to get your vaccination and don't let up now.
Beginning today, gathering with a group of friends in a park, going for a picnic. As long as you are vaccinated and outdoors, you can do it without a mask.
That was President Biden earlier today. For more on the new CDC guidelines, we now have our Capitol Hill correspondent, CBN's Abigail Robertson. Hi, Abby.
Hi, John. Well, President Biden and the CDC now say that fully vaccinated people wearing masks can also safely attend indoor activities like worship services, workout classes, and indoor dining.
The bottom line is clear. If you're vaccinated, you can do more things more safely, both outdoors as well as indoors.
The CDC considers individuals fully vaccinated 2 weeks after receiving the second dose of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines, or 2 weeks after the single-dose Johnson & Johnson shot.
If you are fully vaccinated, things are much safer for you than those who are not yet fully vaccinated.
New data from the CDC shows nearly 8% of those who got the first shot are skipping the second dose, and the daily number of people getting vaccinated is declining, despite vaccines now being available to all Americans over 16.
And then them also putting the Johnson & Johnson on pause, it really made me think more than twice about going back and getting the second one.
The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is back in play after the CDC decided the benefits outweigh the risk. But according to a new ABC News poll, 73% of Americans not yet vaccinated say they won't take it.
The COVID-19 vaccines have been through many transparent, rigorous processes that continue to prove they are safe and effective.
In an effort to combat vaccine hesitancy, West Virginia Governor Jim Justice is offering $100 savings bonds to people 16 to 35 who get vaccinated.
I'm telling you, it's time, West Virginia, to shut this thing down.
Says children's summer camps can reopen, but since the vaccines are not yet approved for individuals under the age of 16, they say mask wearing and social distancing will still be necessary. John, Jenna?
All right, thank you, Abigail. Well, the investigation into the death of Andrew Brown Jr. now includes an FBI civil rights probe.
Yeah, that announcement coming this afternoon. This as protests continue 6 days after Brown was shot multiple times by police in North Carolina. CBN's George Thomas has the story.
Lawyers for the family of Andrew Brown Jr. say an independent autopsy shows that the 42-year-old was shot 5 times by police.
Using 2 sets of drawings, lawyers during today's press conference say officers shot Brown 4 times from the front of his car, those bullets hitting his right hand while both his hands were on the steering wheel.
These bullet wounds, according to the autopsy, were more or less glancing shots. They were not fatal shots.
Brown then backed his car up and drove across a vacant lot.
He wasn't fleeing. Let's get that word going. He wasn't fleeing. He was trying to run because he was scared of his life.
That's when police reportedly shot him a 5th time, striking him in the back of the head.
That this, in fact, was a fatal wound to the back of Mr. Brown's head as he was leaving the site trying to evade being shot at by these particular law enforcement officers who we believe did nothing but a straight-out execution.
The death certificate shows he died within minutes of being shot in the head.
Those 3 gunshots to the arm, that wasn't enough? That wasn't enough? It's obvious he was trying to get away. It's obvious. And they're going to shoot him in the back of the head. That's not right. That's not right at all.
Deputies opened fire while serving multiple warrants on him for drug charges. Brown's family says they were shown only 20 seconds of body camera footage of the deadly incident from one angle, even though multiple officers were on the scene and were reportedly wearing body cams.
Law enforcement intentionally edited the video to 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
And intentionally blurred out the officer
and
guns and showed us what they wanted to show us under the guise of it being pertinent.
Calls are growing for authorities to release unredacted footage from other body cameras and any police dashboard cameras, which requires a court order. The Pasquotank County Sheriff's Office says they'll comply if the court orders them to release the footage and asked for patience while the investigation continues.
It's not appropriate for us to make any decision about what happened in this tragic incident until we get all the facts. Not just the video perspective, but the other evidence. We continue to ask for patience as we follow the important process to proceed.
The FBI is now getting involved in the case, announcing this afternoon that it has opened a civil rights probe into Andrew Brown Jr.'s killing. George Thomas, CBN News.
All right, thank you, George. Coming up, the new census numbers and the resulting changes in the next election. We explain next.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back. Well, U.S. population growth is the second lowest in history, according to the 2020 census. And the changing American demographic means big changes for U.S. political calculations. There are 331 million people living in the U.S., a 7.4 increase since 2010. Population data for the census determining how the nation's 435 congressional seats are allocated. Now 7 states will lose 1 seat in the U.S. House, including California. Texas, on the other hand, added nearly 4 million people over the past decade and will gain 2 congressional seats.
Well, here with us now is our CBN News chief political analyst, David Brody. David, let's pick up right there. Some changes to the political map wrought by the census. How much will they affect the congressional midterms in 2022?
Well, this is a two-step process. We have to wait and see. Remember, there's a difference between appointing. In essence, we're in the appointing stage right now, but then there's the redistricting. In other words, what will the districts look like ultimately because of the census? And we aren't there quite yet. But look, I think the initial read of the census is this is good news for Republicans. More seats in the Sun Belt, down in Florida and Texas. However, Democrats are saying, well, wait a minute, these census numbers were not done in a kosher-like way. In other words, they believe Hispanics were underrepresented in the census, and they're going to blame the Trump administration for that. So these numbers may be a bit off the way they see it. So we now wait to see exactly how this unfolds, but it does look like it's good news for Republicans. They were already in good straits to try to win back the 2022 majority in the House, so we'll see.
Yeah, a big shift from the Rust Belt to the Sun Belt, as you mentioned. Oh, well, David, all eyes, of course, are on moderate Democrat Joe Manchin of West Virginia. And now he's signaling he might actually go along with Republicans in scaled-back infrastructure. What does that mean for President Biden and his $2 trillion plan?
Well, it's interesting because this is exactly what Republicans have been saying all along, to say, hey, Joe Biden, why don't you take this deal, $600 billion or so, and call it a day. It's something I brought up to Jen Psaki the other day. In other words, you talk about all the social infrastructure. Why don't you hold off on some of the controversial stuff and just go with the actual infrastructure, roads, highways, bridges, internet. And that's what Manchin is signaling. If that's the case, this could be a two-step process. Do that and leave the controversial stuff for later.
All right, bipartisanship, perhaps. There's hope.
Maybe.
David, thank you very much.
Thanks, David.
And up next, cancel culture and why former Governor Scott Walker is sounding the alarm.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Welcome back. Former Wisconsin Republican Governor Scott Walker is using his conservative credentials to challenge the current cancel culture movement to reach today's students.
Yeah, CBN's Paul Strand shows us Walker's game plan to help redeem a love for American liberty.
Many on the left, through this radical indoctrination, try to teach our young people to hate America.
Scott Walker warns parents and others in this Young America's Foundation video.
America is under siege. We see it on our campuses and in our culture.
That's why the former governor was anxious to lead this group, backed long ago by the likes of William F. Buckley and Ronald Reagan.
I felt now more than ever we needed to win not just the battle of the day, but the war for the heart and soul of this great republic.
With a dedication to individual liberties, free enterprise, and traditional values, the foundation has what Walker calls a long game to defeat attempts to turn America's young against their country.
You see this with the 1619 Project. You see this with a lot of the Marxist attitudes and others. They're pitting one group of Americans versus the other, and they're telling our young people that there's something fundamentally wrong with America.
How can people and organizations pushing Marxist ideas be winning in the land of the free? By controlling what people can hear and even what they can say.
This total cancel culture, this lack of free speech and the ability for speak out and express their opinions.
It even includes an element of pushing vulnerable kids to question and dislike themselves.
You can't just disagree and debate the issues, that if someone doesn't fully agree with their leftist dogma, that they're racist or sexist or transphobic or whatever the word might be, that there's no respect for people who have differing viewpoints.
Walker points to studies showing how some 80% of the students who don't agree still feel compelled to speak in favor of the far left.
If they don't buy into the radical dogma, they'll be written up, it'll be in the permanent record. You see this time and time and time again.
Numbers, however, show that young victims of propaganda can be turned. For instance, a Young America's Foundation poll shows 69% of students would back a $15 minimum wage. After they learn it would kill 1.4 million jobs, that support drops to 52%.
When we start to tell them a conservative point of view that makes them understand the things they're hearing, in many cases, aren't fair, they're not right, they're not just, they tend to gravitate more towards our point of view, which is exactly why the left wants to cancel out any conservative thought and discussion in the first place.
Here's the Foundation's long game strategy. Get their group active on all of America's 4,000-plus college campuses. Expand their conservative influence into middle schools as well as high schools. sponsor 1 million students to attend YAF programs, and create a network for conservative professors and teachers. Walker's group is also fighting schools that attempt to censor conservatives, as it recently took UC Berkeley to court.
They claim they're for free speech, but we had conservative students there we were working with, trying to bring in some conservative speakers. They put up a barrier that said you couldn't have the event after 3. You couldn't advertise. The security costs were 3 times what they charged left-leaning groups to bring in a U.S. Supreme Court justice.
YAF won in court.
If we can win at UC Berkeley, we can win anywhere in America, and we will. The Constitution's on our side, and we're going to invoke it every state, every campus, every place we need to.
Walker knows it's often hard to get conservatives deeply involved with battles over politics and power.
We're not consumed with government. We're not consumed with power. We live our own lives.
But they need to be fighting back.
Reset. Oh. If we want to be able to support and pass on to our children, our family, the kind of America we inherited from our parents and grandparents, we have to do more.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, call it the Battle of the Billboards. How sparring words in plain sight for all to see is putting one Virginia town on the map.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Finally tonight, Battle of the Billboards in one small Virginia town. It all started when a music shop challenged a neighboring shoe store to a sign war with a message posted on a billboard.
Jenna, from restaurants to pharmacies, other local shops have joined in on the fun, putting the Virginia town of Christiansburg on the map. One resident started a Facebook group to keep track of the signs, bringing in not only laughs, but also dollars. Since joining the war by posting song lyrics outside his store, one restaurant owner saying his business is booming. Given the pandemic forced the closure of so many stores, these signs signal shop owners sticking together is a win for everyone. Well, how about that?
Yeah, some of those are pretty creative. They moved fast, so I couldn't read all of them, but...
Well, thanks for watching Faith Nation.
Have a good night.